Mixed Bag on the After Reality Podcast Network.
He is Will Simmons.
All about that team, Dick.
Ready for that. This is After Reality. Welcome back to the Mixed Bag on the After Reality Podcast Network. It's last show of 2018, but we have plenty to talk about. We're going to be talking about the 3-hour Survivor finale. We have special guests for that. We're also going to get into Vanderpump Rules, as well as Below Deck. We had a very big week with the Below Deck franchise last week. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But before we get going, tonight we're joined by old buddy of mine, friend of the pod, veteran of reality TV production, and also veteran of Survivor production, Mr. Kenneth Browder. Kenneth, welcome back to the show.
What's going on, guys? Will, it's good to see you. Man, you're here.
I know.
It's like
This is the first 3-man with Kenneth. The last couple times he's been on, he's been filling in Will's steed.
Yep.
So this should be fun times to get 3 schools of thought on the fantastic season that was on Survivor.
I hope you're okay with us double teaming you, man.
oh, I mean, I don't know how I feel about someone's leading with I'm here for the well, it's a good thing we're in separate locations.
Yes. But anyhow, we have plenty to talk about. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it. Before we do, we'll let everybody know where they can find us online.
Follow us on Twitter at After Reality Pod, like the After Reality TV podcast page on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram at After Reality Podcast. Also, a reminder, subscribe wherever you download your podcasts, Google Play, iTunes, or Stitcher. And don't forget our website, afterrealitypodcast.com. Let us know what you think of the podcast. You can do the cool trick now, which is subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, and make sure we get those follower counts a little higher.
That's what Kenneth will be doing after the show.
At least for an hour.
Subscribing, unsubscribing.
Right. It's way cheaper than buying people to follow you. Just
I've admittedly done it a little myself. But Will's favorite podcast provider is Stitcher, if you can't tell by how he says that one.
I don't understand it, but it's out there, I guess.
It's his Ron Burgundy. Let's go ahead and get into this thing. I'm sure we'll have plenty of kind of like all-inclusive thoughts on the season that was as we get through this, but just kind of catching us up to speed. We did a pod last week. We talked about Survivor, and we're coming off of Christian getting the old blindside. We've seen it's like a weekly occurrence now on Survivor, and us having split 3 ways, which set us up for an interesting entree into this week. Panic, running around looking for idols, and of all people, Angelina is the one that stumbles upon this idol clue. I don't know what were you guys thinking when she's the one that is getting set up for success down the stretch? I don't know. Kenneth, we'll start with you.
Oh man, it was 100 feet high. No,
on an 8-foot ladder.
yeah, on a 8-foot ladder. No, I think that, I mean, it was not fun that she found it, right? Or that she was the one that got the clue. But then you were like kind of rooting for the fact that she lost the clue, and you're like, yeah, take that. And then, you know, she
freaks out.
Yeah.
Freaks out. And then I thought it was cool that she played the whole I fell out of the tree. I can't believe people fell for it, but it is what it is. But I mean, she pulled it off, and then she gets to the feast or whatever, and the challenge reward, and then she's like tells them Mike really found the idol, if we're being honest. I mean, he found the clue, and then he told her where it was.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh yeah, I found this idol. We never find idols. I'm like, you didn't find it. You found the clue and you lost it. And then you had someone else help you.
Will you guys let me be the one that climbs the ladder?
Well, that's smart. That's dumb on them because
yeah,
she knows the rules.
No, I'm gonna go get it.
No, I'm good. I'm getting it. I found it. Mike should have been like, well, Mike's too lazy at that point. He didn't care.
He was.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, they always told me don't climb ladders when you're hammered.
Right. I was watching this. The first thing I thought of was like, oh God, we have to stick with her for another full episode. I like after I read some articles after the show about her and stuff like that, and she gave some interviews and then her perspective on the reunion about like she's like, that's not really who I am. I'm like,
No, it is.
yeah, that's exactly who you are, because as everyone was asked, if you raise your hand if you thought you were improperly portrayed, no one raised their hand but Natalie, who no one liked.
And then everyone agreed she was properly
Yeah.
portrayed.
And so Angelina, yes, maybe you are kind of out of your element at this point, but like you did things on purpose.
Yes.
Like a psycho.
And then she does the thing that I hate the most, where it's like she lies to your face like you're stupid. It's like, yo, I understand what's happening here. Why are you lying straight to my face?
She's a master manipulator. Do we not understand that from a couple of
Yeah.
With the power of persuasion, I'll make you rice and you all bow down to me.
Rice
So selfless.
Oh, God. Yeah. So anyway, she acts like she falls off a tree, off the cliff, which was amazing how she went the wrong way. Turns out she went exactly the wrong way
Let's climb as high as I can up this wall.
with a giant ladder, 100-foot ladder.
And we kind of skipped ahead. We already talked about
Yeah.
who won the immunity comp, but let's get into that a
Yeah,
little bit.
so the Muni comp comes up. It's a ball lasso toss to release the puzzle pieces to build a staircase, race to the top, complete a 63-piece puzzle, which that is a large puzzle.
I like this one.
Yes.
I like this comp.
Yeah, I like
Yes.
it was a bigger puzzle than normal.
2 puzzles, because you had to do this puzzle of
Right.
stairs.
Right. You're playing for the spaghetti, garlic bread, and cake reward, which it's got to be one of the best ones.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, oh yeah.
So given what we've established that I want to eat on Survivor,
Yeah, that's everything Spencer wants.
Right.
this is perfect. But I don't even need the sauce. Just give me the pasta, the bread, and the cake.
So Kenny, so you have Kenneth. I always call you Kenny.
No, you can call Kenny. Spencer calls me Kenneth because I mean,
Because I've
so
known him since he
formal.
was 12 years old.
yes, but I answer to both. It's whatever.
All my friends from childhood have called me William for a long time. Not so
Yeah,
much.
it's like
Yeah. Anyway, so insider scoop, the food, like who is preparing? I'm sure there's chefs and stuff like that, but like, is it warm when it gets to them? Because they show
yeah.
display
Yeah.
food and there's the food they actually eat, but it's always like, how does it come from A to B?
You don't think craft services is right there on the beach?
Yeah, hey man, there is talent nearby that is not on a show where they can't eat. So there's craft services close by, if you will.
I know there's sometimes not a table. It's like maybe an ice chest that people are just like grabbing crap out of for craft.
It's not a chef though per se, and it's not like they're not getting some fine cuisine out there, but there is
The question is when they get like Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, that
how are they keeping those blooming onions?
Yeah. Where is there an Outback Steakhouse near there, by the way?
Hey man, you'd be surprised what they got in Fiji, man.
Oh, I'm sure they got a little bit of everything.
It's like you got it all.
I'm always like the comp. Spencer and I get into this at times. Like some of the comps, he's just like, "This is stupid. Why would you want that?" And I'm like, "I want to eat the hell out of that."
No,
Oh yeah.
I'm usually like, I don't want coffee
Right.
or ice cream.
Bethany, my wife, always
Like,
says, she's
let's
like,
see how much I can take a crap out of here.
"Why would I want a diuretic?"
Hey man, maybe you get cleaned out. Who knows?
Right. Well, at the same time, like it is an appetite suppressant technically, so you're
Yeah.
starving. It kind of helps that. Plus, you're worn out and tired. Get your caffeine back up. So I'm like, I understand coffee, but
Yeah.
I know it's not everyone's favorite.
I don't understand the sweets. I don't know.
The satiating things, right?
Yeah, I'm like the things that I'm like, give me some substance. I get that, but I don't understand the need to eat cake or cook. I'm like, I'm not sitting there going, give me an effing brownie. Like,
Well, I mean, if I had some pasta and ended with some red velvet cake, I'd be super happy.
I'd be happy, of course, but
Pure protein and pure carbs.
Right.
that's where you get sick, yo.
Oh, of course. You
So
got
you're
it
like,
smart.
like-
So in your opinion, what was the best, like outside of like Outback hosting kind of like one of those awards, what was the coolest one you saw that was like, damn, that's pretty legit?
they did like a pizza one time. It was like a pizzeria, Nicaragua. They had beer and pizza. It was real simple, but I don't know.
That's awesome.
I don't really get. I guess I'm just like, to be quite honest with you, on Survivor, I'm eating. So
Yeah.
I'm not like I'm not sitting there going like, oh my god, look at all this food they get to eat. Like I'm eating
F this
Pretty-
rice
yeah.
business.
pretty well too. So it's like I'm like I don't. Nicaragua was dope because like they had this, they have a place where we eat, that feeds us all the meals. You can come different times, a cafeteria, if you will. But then you can walk down on the beach and drink like $2 beers and have like fresh caught like lobster and for like $5 for you know what I mean? Like I'm eating, I'm doing pretty well. So when we get to these challenges where they're eating, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Pat
Well,
over it.
It's like-
as a reminder for our listeners, maybe if you haven't listened when Kenneth's been on with us before, Kenneth was a segment producer on the 2 seasons in Nicaragua and then the 2 seasons in
Cambodia.
Cambodia. Yes,
Nice.
which we had. I'm looking forward to getting to the coming up on next season because
yeah.
there's 3 of the 4.
Yeah, I was on. Yeah,
We're on
those are all people. Yeah.
We'll get into that in a
Nice.
little bit. Let's finish up this
back
first
in-
community comp.
Back into this comp here, David and Kara leave early luck with the lasso, so they end up getting ahead. They all get the hang of it. Allison is really dragging, which she seemed to really struggle there. I don't know because she was emaciated at this point, but she didn't seem
Oh,
to-
yeah.
they
So
were,
emaciated.
right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going,
She wasn't there that big to start off
if you're going percentages of,
Yeah.
of what was lost,
Did
like
nothing.
yeah,
Had nothing to give.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
I thought she was gonna fall.
I know.
You will-
Uh,
and while we're talking about when she it's not in this comp, but in the later comp where she
Mhm.
has to stand on the post
Oh, she's
and
wobbling.
he's calling her like she wasn't scared. She didn't have the strength.
Yeah, strength. Yeah,
Absolutely not.
yeah, the
And-
strength.
Probably like a runner or something like that. So like she needs carbs. She needs food to keep
Right.
that up. So Mike and Car leading the staircase build. Car is the first to finish the stairs, and she's onto the puzzle. Allison again lasts the puzzle, but puzzlers are the great equalizers we know, and plus this is a 63 piece puzzle at the very end of it.
But there's no equalizer for a man named Nick on a puzzle.
No,
That dude is-
they have to yell for him to come approve the puzzle.
I like that.
Yeah, because
It's
after
the
the
window rule.
the window rule, which we love window,
Oh yeah.
dude, you gotta say something. Yep. So
Like Jeff, I was done. Why didn't you come look? You didn't call me, Wendell.
did y'all at this point, because it's pretty close, did y'all think Nick was gonna pull this out? Angelina wasn't too far off from that either, and Kara was like in the middle of that. Did any point you feel like
Well, I mean, it's probably just the way they edited it a little bit, but I didn't think he had a chance. And then
Well,
Yeah.
he
he
was
went from like nothing to like half of it done.
like at the last with Allison
Yeah.
bringing up the tail, and then bada bing, bada boom.
Yep. That's that's how Natalie gets a poor edit because you just edit the hell out of these things.
Yeah.
Didn't have to have done those
Yeah.
bitchy things.
Right.
Yeah.
Did not see the real me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the fake me.
That's what you say when you're trying to save face and people not have people judge you in real life.
Right. Or on social
Yeah.
Anyway, Nick wins, which is awesome. We were pulling for Nick. Nick is in a very much a Culpepper move and role in this part of the game because he is one of the last ones there for the David crew. So if he doesn't win, he's on the chopping block probably immediately.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because Culpepper had
Yeah.
to win like 7 in a row, right, to
Yeah.
stay in the game.
Yeah.
Nick's kind of on that path, him and Davey. So he gets to choose someone to win to take the reward with him. This is where I'm like, what are you doing? He chooses Angelina to come eat vegetarian food, and then he chooses
Because he
Mike.
doesn't need the veggies.
Right, and then he leaves Alice dying on the beach, basically. And Davey's like, I'm good. I already had some food. Take somebody else. And I'm like, Davey, what are you doing?
Yeah. He should have went.
Yeah,
Then he lost more weight than anybody.
yeah, he did. Ironically, they have their reward meal right by the water well, and this is where Angelina basically can practically smell her idol that is 100 feet in the air, if not 8 feet from her.
It's not 100, maybe 50.
Maybe 50.
He's like, 8-foot ladder. Did you not hear what I said? Girl that went to Harvard, right? She went to Harvard.
Yeah,
Yale?
well, I had to hoist it up and keep using it until I got to 50.
That's not how ladders work. How did y'all feel about Nick's decision to take Angelina and Mike, which turns out to be the final 3?
Well, it looks like it worked out.
Yeah, but I mean, like at the time, were you like, good?
At the time, I was like, you idiot.
Yeah,
Yeah, at the
Uh.
time, I was thinking you should be taking the people there with you that you want to vote with you.
right.
And that's not those two.
Yeah.
That's Davey. That's Kara.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
No, definitely Kara and Davey. So, and it just didn't. I get they're all Jabini originally, but still, at this point, it's so fluid. Dude, what are you doing?
It's also harkens back to the point that the David tribe was so far behind for a while, then they finally caught up, and then just start picking themselves off. And it's like, you guys are still in the minority here. Why don't you keep Davey close? Because like, it doesn't really make sense. It didn't make sense, but it turns out it does make sense in the long run.
Yeah.
Nick and Angelina start talking about it. They want to get rid of Allison, but Mike is smart and thinks Davey will be the winner in the end, so they should get rid of him.
I agree with that.
He was dead on. And when he said that, I'm just like,
in
damn,
my
it's over.
opinion, every time that Mike has had a strategic opinion, it's like 95% right.
Yeah.
And that includes way back when they had that potential counterinsurgency alliance with 3 and 3 from Davids and Goliath, and they didn't do it.
They didn't do anything.
I mean, it still worked out. I mean, he still made it to the final 3, but like, he's always been a great thinker.
Yeah.
Probably save for maybe Christian, but probably maybe even better than Christian, because he has more awareness and real world experience.
Sure.
That
done amazing race
put
too.
together a great strategy. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day who's watched a ton of the seasons. They were saying how like they couldn't believe Mike was still around because he's a very messy player, because he has outwardly said he is voting for one side and doesn't. He's screwed up people's votes.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to side with the Davids, and he doesn't. He keeps doing this, but he keeps pulling these little, like strings, and then it just reverses on somebody else. But yet no one ever looks at getting Mike out.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with he's entertaining, he's engaging, he's very fluid. He can he can be whatever. And I think at the end of the day, most of them knew they weren't going to vote for him. I personally think when you have a background before coming into it, that kind of, no one wants to give a guy with $1 million $1 million more dollars. Come on. It doesn't make sense. So it's like, we'll keep him around. He keeps us entertained. Everyone likes him. But unless he, for the most part, no one's really going to give him $1 million.
3 people wanted to give him $1 million.
Yeah.
Which I was very surprised of the 3 that did want to give him $1 million, but I think that was more out of.
We'll get more into that in a little while.
But I agree. Mike is a likable guy. I think that's what really kept him around, because people genuinely like him.
Until they had the loved ones. Hey, we got another special.
Yeah, hold on. My son just walked in the room. Aren't you supposed to be asleep?
Until we had.
Who are you talking to?
Hold on a second, guys. Sorry.
Until we had the family members show up, I didn't know Mike was gay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had no idea. Like, I don't know that well. So we'll soldier on without Kenneth here for a minute. Talk a little bit about that first tribal council. And Angelina is still trying to flex her muscles and make people think she's powerful. And showing how that she orchestrated Gabby and Chris leaving and thinks she's in charge. And I'm just like, it's actually very much the same thing as Natalie early in the season, with no self-awareness of what you're doing and the perception of others of you.
Yep.
She
also has been tried. People have tried to vote her out twice or 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Too. But she still doesn't get the fact that people really don't like you.
Yeah.
Well, don't do anything more to draw attention to you.
I don't think her statements of saying that the women are viewed differently on this show is 100% accurate, because if a dude acts like that, they're a dick and nobody likes them. There's been plenty of women on the show that have won this show that didn't act like that.
Yeah, Sarah, who beat Culpepper a couple seasons
She's
ago.
awesome.
She was awesome. She played both sides of the coin the entire time, and everyone liked her for it. No problem. Yeah. Go ahead, Kenny.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say she just drives me up the wall.
No, she's crazy. It sucks when you have, with both her and Natalie, they're both not self-aware, but they also think very highly of themselves, right? So it's like the worst combination of narcissism, when you have people who think their shit don't stink, pardon my French, but then aren't aware that they think that.
Yeah.
And it's really trying. It makes her game's been blown since she tried to manage the jury, and then again she lies to you and says, "No, that's not what I was doing," or "I'm trying." It's like it's so obvious. You're so mechanical. You're so just clinical that that's who you are. You're kind of a cold, calculated individual.
It's a very humble game.
Yeah,
you have to be humble.
Right. Like Mike does well for himself. But Mike isn't walking around there saying like, "I don't need this money. I don't know why you're like." He's very humble. During jury, you can see his face, or during the tribals, you can see his face. He's not like making these big eyes and quirky smiles because he's got one up on everyone else.
He was rude to Allison though.
It was rude, but like
but still.
Not putting it out there the whole time. Angelina's face whenever Allison's talking, she's like rolling her eyes and got these big. I'm just like, you suck.
Yeah. So incredulous all the time. Like, why are you looking like that?
Be humble.
we ended up having what was a surprising vote for some here. The 4-2 Davey ousting, and Mike got his way.
Yeah,
it was Mike, Kara, Allison, and Angelina on the vote. And big words from Davey on the way out. Whoever orchestrated this has my vote. Lies. He did not vote for Mike.
Well,
you know who thought it was who orchestrated this? You know who thought they orchestrated it? Angelina.
Yeah.
She thinks she orchestrated this entire game.
Yeah.
No one, not a single soul voted for her in the end.
I think she orchestrated
yeah, I think that man, him not vote, I get it, but Kara, I wasn't surprised David went out personally, because I was just like, I'm just hoping he gets to that 5, because I felt like he got to 5, he was going to get to 3. Mm-hmm. And when he didn't, I was like, it's just a hard place to be, that, you know, that 8th or 9th juror or whatever. But
it was
it's the absolute right move. You know, like he's the one that wins. I strongly believe that if he's in the final 3, he's the one that wins.
He made moves. He played the game well. People liked him. He won things.
Yeah. He did everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
He just
and coming out of that, Nick is not pleased with Mike and Angelina. Again, another instance here of Mike flipping the script, because he had a lack of truthiness with them. But and he's flailing around pretty hard. It's kind of the most frazzled we've saw Nick on this show.
I thought it was going to cost him the money.
And like he's so obsessed with getting Allison out. He's obsessed with it. And has been for weeks, saying Allison's going to win. But like, I like Allison. She's been one of the people I've been cheering for.
Sure.
But like, what has she done?
Nothing.
Right.
She's been on the right side of several votes, on the right team. That's about it.
And like, she's survived.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah, because other people were bigger targets, because she played behind the scenes or decided to, go along with a vote for whatever reason. So yeah. The final 5. This is a tough one. They're perched on a pole in the ocean, and they have bail buckets of water into a cylinder to release a key, get to shore, unlock a puzzle, and go from there.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Allison is straight up trembling. Like, her long giraffe legs are just like, or whatever, baby deer legs at the point. She's just like wobbling like crazy. Once again, going
her
back
skeleton.
Right. She is just bag of bones at this point. Yeah. She
I thought I said it already, but she wasn't scared.
No.
Her body couldn't do it.
Yeah. She literally, one of those things.
Because she ended up winning the thing.
Yeah.
She was the one that was first ashore.
Yep. So after so Allison's the first to get her key, first ashore, unlock her puzzle pieces. Pretty big lead. Then Angelina is the last one, which I'm like, thank God. This is amazing.
She sucks at everything.
Yeah, she's the worst. At the puzzle, Nick forges ahead and he absolutely crushes it. It's not even close. I'm like, dude, are you a puzzle master? And turns out he's not. He actually doesn't do many puzzles in his real life. He's just really good at figuring this shit out. Basically, the biggest takeaway: Nick's awesome at puzzles.
Yeah, well, the big takeaway here is, if Nick had not won this challenge,
he's done.
He would have gone home.
Yep.
Who would have won the show?
Mike.
Yeah, Mike is
the guy who all 3 of us have said.
Yeah, but I don't. I just, here's the thing. I think they throw it out the window because they're gamers, and they say, hey. Right. Angelina was just, I knew Angelina was going to be in the final 3, because I'm like, you'd be an idiot not to bring her. No one's going to vote for her, right? And then you know, with Kara hadn't done really anything either. So then it goes.
I've been championing for the last month.
She had a chance. She should have. Her chance to win went away when she didn't try to get Mike out.
Yep.
She should have tried to get Mike out, and she didn't. And because of that, that's why she was the 10th juror. Like she had a chance to steal the game.
Yep. That would have been her second check mark on her dossier too, because she's gotten Dan out as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Yeah,
no, I'm good. I'm gonna hang out. I'm good.
It's so funny how there's several people in this game. They were like a vote away from actually making a move, and they did not, and they ended up on the jury not long after that because
Alec, like
people no one wanted to go side with the Davids. Remember how it was like, oh, we're gonna side with the Davids, and like, no, we're not. We're gonna go back to and get they're gonna go back to Goliath, and it's like, well, all those Goliaths are gone now because you didn't vote for the Davids.
Yeah.
Like, duh. Like you got to switch some sides, and some people are just ignorant to it. And Kara did it to herself.
If you had had that group of Nick and Christian and Gabby and Allison and Alec and Mike,
dude, they could have done some damage.
They would have run it to the final 6.
Yep, absolutely. So we go to the second tribal from here.
Yeah, and Angelina wants a show. She wants theatrics. She wants to perform. And she wants Allison and Kara to vote for her. So she can make a big splash and play her idol for herself, and it doesn't get wasted. And she's like, so I just need you guys to do this for me. And it doesn't sit well with Mike. So Mike goes and tells Kara immediately, Angelina, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Or as Mike thinks, a diabolical psychopath.
Right.
Diary of a mad castaway. Is that what he said to her?
Right. Yeah. So then Kara goes to Allison with the plan to get out Mike, who has this big social game that we all know, and they need a third vote. And their only option is to go to Nick, and Nick seems open-ish to it.
Right.
And they just need to make sure Nick doesn't tell Angelina about this, which I guess he does. Then on the cusp of going to tribal, I didn't like this.
No, it's so stupid.
Allison finds this fake idol that Angelina made, and I'll just read my notes to you. Angelina sucks. She sucks at this game, and just in general, she sucks. Carry on, fellas.
Yeah.
That's you're explaining exactly why she might be back on the show.
Jeff Probst said in some other interview that he thought that she would be one of the best people to come back to another season because he liked her game so much.
A season of all villains where they put 20 villains.
Yeah, that's what he means. He likes her character. I don't know if he likes her game. I think he likes her character.
Right. She and Natalie have to be paired up the entire time.
Yeah. It's like
asking for a jacket.
They would probably kill each other.
The first death in Survivor history.
Yeah. Natalie would for sure kill her. Angelina would just be like, "No, Natalie, just you can just eat my food."
Medevac. We need a medevac to Jabini. So we go to the actual tribal.
Yep.
I was interested to see if Allison thought it was a real idol. Did you guys think that she thought it was a real idol?
No. She's not dumb. She's not dumb.
Oh no,
she knows.
A doctor.
Yeah, she knows.
Do you guys remember the show when, like, for sure if you were famous, but like if you were a doctor or a lawyer, or they thought you had any like remotely kind of a good job, like they were getting rid of you off the show?
Yeah. That's a lot of shows. People don't want to tell up what they do because they don't want to be like outed as that person.
And then here we put a celebrity in the final 3.
Right.
This has never happened.
Well, it's like Last Big Brother, there was Steve the cop. He couldn't say he was a cop because everyone was like, "Oh, you're a cop."
But then he talked like a cop, and everyone knew he was.
Yeah. Man, I'm cool. I'm hip. I'm not a cop.
He's walking around, but I'll slap you in cuffs.
Yeah,
I'm not a cop.
No. Just know the system really well.
Oh man, I was a criminal justice major.
Yeah. Never went anywhere with it though. I'm not a cop.
It was interesting though. It was mentioned. Kenneth said it a moment ago how the interaction between Allison and Mike. Allison thinks that Mike is a threat. She voices that at tribal, and Mike's absolutely not true, and then tells her that she should leave the game with some dignity. I was like, "Cool, bro."
Yeah.
Where did that come from, and why did you say that?
Cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded.
It
was so unnecessary.
Yeah.
So my challenge Gambino. That's unnecessary.
Like,
like, why are you doing this?
it was like he felt threatened, and that's the only time you ever seen him get frazzled. Not just then, but it's happened 2 or 3 times where he gets like puckers up a little bit, and he lashes out, but then he reels it back real fast.
It's also a weird timing because like Allison is a broken person at this point. She is not eaten. She's not won anything. She's been on the block basically for the last 3 weeks,
and everyone's watching.
Yeah.
How much do you think that has to do with how he described himself in the final tribal? About how he showed up to Goliath and it was a humbling experience. He felt like he's back in, school and was like the kid who was like
choice other than to go that route.
Yeah, but I'm saying like maybe there's some truth to the fact that like maybe he was curt to Allison because she was the last Goliath threat, if you will, but she was in a weak, vulnerable spot, and he maybe felt like, hey, I could show them, like, I could be whatever to her. But he was, it seemed like he flipped a switch for like a hot 15 minutes of the show where it's like, who is this guy? This guy has not been around.
Right.
And then he just showed this really cold side to himself.
And you think he would turn on like someone like Angelina because he's like so annoyed with her, but he turns on a person who's kind of not been a real actor or anything for a while. Yeah. I'm with you. It definitely stood out as like, whoa, Mike, what's going on?
Yeah, like,
honestly, that might have sealed his fate on top of that.
A little bit, I think so. I think that
you didn't vote for him?
Yeah.
So the vote went 4-1, with the 1 vote for Mike, obviously
and
coming
Allison
from Allison.
did not fall for the fake idol. She was like, I'm not even sure this is real. Hands it to Jeff.
Oh, I liked it that she said, "Hey, I might as well check," which
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
But
I want to play mine first.
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. Hold Jeff.
We're not done here.
Yeah.
Go away.
It was a terrible production too. Like she is so blatantly obvious about it. There's no.
I did the worst fake idol of all time, but I do have a real one.
Yeah, what's
the soft skills? Yeah, it's just.
Also, her eye. She was like looking back at Allison and just making these like little quirky smiles and stuff while Allison's talking. Just like, I've got her. This bitch is going down.
It's like, she knows that.
Negotiator ever. And then to open our negotiation, we'd like to give you everything.
Here are all my cards. Take them back.
Yeah.
Entire team for your wide receiver.
I only have one player. Oh, speaking of wide receivers and stuff like that, championship fantasy is coming up.
Oh,
I'm about to take another one.
I'm playing my best friend in a championship, and literally our Yahoo predictor has us by like within 2 points of each other.
Ooh, yeah.
We'll have more on that on our fantasy football podcast.
Our Supreme Underwear podcast.
Oh, y'all do a Supreme Underwear podcast? Sign me up for that shit.
Yeah, this is limited edition.
Yeah, it's on our page.
You can't even see the line, Russ.
So in the final immunity challenge.
Well, wait.
Oh, you had something to say?
It really would have been smart to vote Mike out there.
100%.
Like that's just
one of 2 people. He's the only person in the game that's not named Nick who you can't vote out.
Right.
That has a chance to win.
And whose fault was that?
Kara's.
Kara.
Yeah.
Kara could have stole the game.
Yes, that's your move.
Well,
she could have.
They needed 1 more vote. You needed 3 votes.
Yeah.
Or, well, I mean, you could have.
Allison,
but she could have. Like, here's the thing. You go to Nick. You say, "Hey, Nick, Mike can beat you probably. Let's get him out."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you take the longevity of like he's like, I put my game up against Kara's and Angelina's and Allison's. I guess I got.
And you're like, well, we know Allison's probably not going to win the next comp because she
can't.
Angelina's not going to win it because she sucks.
Yeah, so it's you versus Kara.
Yeah, and you have a pretty good odds.
Yeah,
you've won a lot lately.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer, I was giving you a little crap early when you were like, yeah, Kara, she could, and I'm like, no, and she did just enough to be relevant, and she was there. She was always her social game was a lot. I mean, it was better than I realized. If you look at the whole overall totality of it, I mean, she was in on a lot of votes. She knew a lot of stuff. There were things she was aware of going through the game, and it's like she just needed that one signature moment, and it was right there, and she just like didn't do it. And you're like,
she's the one that I had tagged about 3 or 4 weeks ago as just watch.
Yeah.
Somehow this underling who's not really involved in anything is going to end up winning the show, and she got really close.
She did.
Yeah.
She screwed herself. That's what.
Yeah.
This season was built on you taking a chance, and some people did, and some
the people that took chances won, or got and then
or they went to Ponderosa.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's like, but we were really looking at. There were 2 people that could win last night when it was all said and done because they got rid of Davey, and Kara was. Like she beats Allison. She beats everyone beats Angelina, right? She has a chance against Nick, maybe, but I mean, at least she's getting some votes. Maybe she can get that 2nd place money, right?
I think Kara wins in a final 3 of Allison, Angelina, and Kara.
Yep.
Oh, definitely.
Yep. Totally.
Which could have happened.
She could have made it happen, but whatever.
Let's get in on this final immunity.
Final one of the season, the Serpentine Ball Maze. You have to challenge. It's a challenge because you have one arm behind your back, and you have to
with one arm tied behind my back.
You have to catch the ball as it's coming out of the maze, and at regular intervals, another ball will be added. And the key is there's a little gate that switches which way the ball comes out, so you have to pay attention to that on top of the ball timing.
Juggling balls.
Yep. After 3 balls, intensity definitely gets kicked up. Hard to handle 3 balls, guys. Angelina, first one out. Hell yeah.
I was excited. Hooray!
Right. Mike,
huzzah!
Because he doesn't bend over. I'm like, Mike, come on, dude. Like, do it. Between Kara and Nick for the win. Kara drops her 4th ball and Millie falls out as she's trying to time out the 4th ball. So, yeah,
she just
Nick
totally
wins.
spaced out.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, like, once it gets going, it definitely is a mental game. And
yeah,
you gotta be quick. And honestly, the only person that really had to really win this was Nick. He was the only one that had to win it. Everyone else,
everyone else is gonna have a shot.
You're right.
Yeah, he had to win, and he did. I think that's probably what also helped him, because he had to turn it on at the end.
Yep.
Although really not winning this.
Oh yeah, Kara just lost it.
Of course, but you're it's a guarantee.
Yeah,
I bet Nick can make a fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm from Kentucky. I'll make a fire.
Yeah.
I'll make you 6 fires. How many fires you need?
We need to burn.
We're gonna make Mama's beer cheese.
That's later.
More on that later in the podcast.
We're back at camp.
Yeah, a lot of deliberations going on, and we saw something we don't always see, and that's an early selection, an early anointment to the final 2. And it's kind of like you're like, okay, you 2 need to practice making fire, and they did. And Mike could make one, and Kara could make a pretty nice fire.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's in there sales pitching Nick, and he's like, "Hey, Angelina's gonna go with me to the final." What if he had told her?
I know. I was
and
hoping
then gotten there and be like, nah, actually,
make that fire, bitch.
Actually, Kara's going.
Turns out Angelina's really good at making fire. We just didn't see it all season. She said in an interview.
Oh, I'm sure. Her and Natalie sit around and make fire together.
Without a jacket on.
Yeah. Well, you need if you have a fire, you don't need a jacket.
Right. How you gonna cook that rice without any fire?
Anyhow, what did you guys think of his decision to put the 2 people he did into the fire? I think it was a fair move. Might have been the right way.
I think it's a fair move. And at that point, I mean, like, cool, Angelina's in. I know I can beat you. These 2, I think it's because Nick actually liked them. There's some kind of semblance of a friendship there, or he sided with them. So, like, I just think he was just like, I'm gonna do the right thing and tell you, just so you can just be ready. Because at that point, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah. Kenneth, what about if you were there, would you have taken a Kara with you to the final instead of Angelina, with the thought that maybe she won't acquit herself as well in front of the jury?
No, because I think that
Think she had a better resume?
Well, no, I just think that Angelina was she had so much stink on her. There was no way she was gonna win. Like who in their right mind thinks she's gonna win? Only Angelina. Angelina, and that was probably to give her a little credit. That's the beauty of her personality, is that the self belief. She thought she had a chance to win, but no one's gonna let her win. Come on, man.
Yeah, you see the jury rolling their eyes when she talks.
Yeah. The minute she's like a person that's like any eye roll. You guys are all having visceral reactions whenever you talk about her. Your eye roll. You're just like she elicits a response, and you know what it is. You know if people don't like her. You know if people like her. No one was feeling her to give her $1 million. So I think it's the right move in terms of bringing her. But
I also look at like production side. Like if we know the final two are going to be there, let's see a really good fire making session here. Like let's you guys get ready for this, because let's have a good like fire off here.
Yeah, where it's like they're both going at the same time, and maybe one flag just goes a 1/10 of a second. It's like, let's do it. They had a few hours to get it.
Fire making. Mike sat in the cursed seat.
Oh yeah,
and won. I thought it was the smallest build of a fire that has ever won the fire making challenge.
It was tough.
There was usually it's windy.
Yeah.
There was no wind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it was all flame.
Yep.
There was no build to the fire. I don't know how he made that happen, or just got lucky or what. But then like the fortunes obviously reversed from the practice sessions.
Totally. I actually tweeted this out. I was like, am I mean for hoping one of these flames catches Angelina's hair on fire? Like not a lot, just a little hair, just enough to singe. Yeah, just like
enough.
I don't know, man. I watched some trash TV, Michael Jackson, like a Reels autopsy or something, and they showed him burning his hair on the Pepsi thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I would wish that on anybody.
I'm just saying, like she had pretty long hair, like a piece of it.
It's a little singe at the bottom.
Yeah, a little unevenness.
Yeah.
Bet you could climb a ladder if her hair was on fire.
100 feet.
100 feet ladder.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point in time, we're heading to the final tribal.
Yep. I like the fact that we get the Rockstar Alliance in this. The final of the alliances. Yes.
The Rockstars and Angelina.
Yep. So we get the final
Wild
tribal.
Stallion.
You have a good question here. Is this the furthest a celebrity has ever gone on Survivor?
I think it absolutely is.
What other celebrities have been on this?
Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Kent, Scott Pollard, Cliff Robinson, David Sampson, the president of the Marlins.
That guy played for the Texans last season.
Oh,
he's a black guy.
Alan Ball.
Alan Ball. There you go. Cornerback.
He had a cup of coffee with the Cowboys.
A guy like that can kind of scoot through, like less recognizable.
He was a little psycho though. You went off early.
Yeah, he did. He did what black dudes aren't allowed to do. Black people can't be crazy. Natalie. I mean, here's the thing. Sometimes I love Survivor so much because it's sort of like an indictment on the stereotypes of our society, and like it's just people are afraid of scary black people. It's just I as a black man, I know this. I'm not even a threatening black dude, and I've been told that people think that I have like this mean mug and like look sometimes, and it's just like the stereo. Like you can't be a crazy black person. Not early. I mean, you get some leeway. Well, at the beginning, at the end.
Some of these like hillbilly guys in the show, like oh god, is this guy gonna like kill me in the middle of my sleep?
Yeah. They're like, it's like
redneck is nuts,
like
right?
Pat.
Yeah, like Pat, or even like Ben that won like 2 seasons ago, right? Last season, right? He was awesome, but like he had a wild side. He had a lot of PTSD he was going through, and it's like this guy could snap on me right now.
Yeah,
bad look for the military if he does, right? I mean,
yeah. I
think you're right. It's a microcosm. It's a microcosm of things on this show that just turn or heighten because of the situations they're put in.
Yeah,
good or bad. It's just like, this is how things kind of are sometimes. And
it's just, I mean, it's calling a spade, like, and and we'll get to my thoughts about what Davey said at the finale, but he's spot on. Like it's crazy, but it's spot on, man. It's spot on.
In reality, so have I. It's like I've worked on some of these shows where I'm sitting there just like, wow, you are a real piece of shit. You really
Yeah. Yeah.
They're after the show, they're like, yeah, they edited me terribly. It's not. I'm like,
No, you're a piece of shit.
bad. And I'm like, yeah, the editing didn't help anything, but like, you're a terrible person.
We're looking at you, Nia Moore.
Right. Yeah. Oh my god, she's awful. But yeah, I'm like, whatever. You're a crappy person, but at the same time, you're put in a weird situation, and
it just heightens everything. Yeah.
But anyway, final trouble. Davey calls out Angelina. Davey calling Angelina out for a selfless act, getting the right.
So selfless.
Made me love him even more. I'm like, man, you should have been up here, man.
He looked good. He lost weight. He had a nice.
You know the purpose of selfless act, right?
Yeah.
To be selfless.
Right. You can't ask for a thank you and then call it selfless. Just can't do it.
Yeah, that's like
well, didn't you know Mother Teresa was all about the thank yous? Did you know that?
Yeah. I need that pat on the back now or I'm
like these prayers ain't free. What y'all talking about? I need some.
Then she cops and then Angelina actually cops to not being authentic. Her words.
I'm not always authentic.
Yeah. And you can see the people in the jury just like, Jesus Christ, is she real? She is real, unfortunately.
Their skin crawls when she speaks.
Here's the thing: everyone knows that Angelina in real life too, though.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like,
and that's where everyone's like, this
her again.
This.
I think you made a good point in this. Nick explains himself well. I think he did. I think he did a good job of like really setting the stage for like what he had done and what who he is. Mike says he has had final 2 deals with everyone, which was kind of his best attribute at this point, which he kind of did. I mean, like, he did a good job with it.
That's how he kept people from getting pissed off at him for flip-flopping all the time.
I mean, Nick was so mad at him so many times, and like Nick would never vote for him.
Felt like he needed him.
Yep. Yeah, so it kind of got out of hand for a minute where everyone's talking to each other, jurors interrupted, and speaking out of turn.
It was a little interesting here that like usually it's like, all right, Will, this is my question for you, and then you answer, and then like, well, I got something to say about that also.
Yeah, honestly,
that's not how this works.
I thought it was going to go off the rails even more around things that like Angelina was saying, or people were trying to like come correct about what actually happened based on what their answers were, but it didn't really happen that much.
Well, get into Angelina here.
Yeah. Well, Mike got called out for not helping at camp. Like, and Mike basically said, he's like, I'm not a strong guy. I can't be like chopping wood and stuff like that.
That was the mayor of Slamtown.
Right.
John went in on him.
Yeah.
He said, why didn't you I saw you make a fire here tonight. It's the first one you made this whole time.
Well, no, was that Dan that said that?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, it was Dan. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mayor
I feel like the mayor of Slamtown doesn't care.
Dan came in and closed.
Right.
He was the closer.
Then you have comptroller of Slamtown.
Well, the coefficient of this algorithm tells me that you are probably going to be the winner.
There's a 64% chance that you lose. Angelina talks about that she's a David. I'm sorry. Angelina talks about how she's a David because she climbed a rock wall with a ladder to find an idol. But then Allison turns around and accuses her.
David.
Allison turns around and accuses her trying to embarrass her with a fake idol, which she wasn't, but she absolutely was.
Absolutely was.
I love that part. Anything you can. I mean, like, that's the thing. I don't want to. Like, I've worked in these shows. I know you can kind of have an affinity to where people, when I watch shows, you have a personal tie to them for whatever reason. We're personally tied to them. I don't hate anyone on the show, but she drives me up the wall. She may be a nice person in real life, but Jesus, she's annoying.
Our personal tie this season was we want anyone to win that's not named Angelina.
Right. Nick speaks to his challenge play, using the idols correctly. He's building a relationship with Davey and Carl, because pulling that one night off when they used
that was
2 different idols, or was it 2 different
2 idols and 1 advantage, I think, or something like that.
At the same time, which I haven't watched every season, but that was freaking amazing.
Idol, advantage, nullifier.
Right.
That's what it was. Yeah, he was in on that, and I think that probably him saying that, and then he dropped my mom died of a drug overdose, and his whole okay. He proved that he was a lawyer. Like, he dropped some closing statements, like how he crafted the story. It was amazing.
Yeah, he was Jake Brigance in a time.
Yeah. It's like, give him whatever he wants.
Now, close your eyes. Let me tell you about my mama.
My mama died of a drug overdose. I walked.
flat.
Yeah.
Flat, whatever.
I got a paragraph of notes here.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna
knock it out.
So they ask Angelina about outlasting, and she claims she's the most battle-tested individual left in the game, and talks about how she triumphed.
Huh.
Like, is it? No one's buying that.
Right.
Battle-tested.
They all watched the same games you were on.
Yeah.
They're not blind.
Nick talks about being swapped to a David deficient tribe and fighting his way out of struggles, exhausting the game to its last breath. And he uses lots of biblical metaphors in the things that he's saying. Really acquits himself nicely. Like, this was a very clean speech. This is part 3 of his speech out of the Out Wet Out Play Out Last. And then Mike talks about how he never felt too nervous. Not just wanted to get to the end, which is a good way to play the game. It's how I talk about playing the game. I'm always talking about, like, I just want to get to the end, and get me to the next week, and I don't need to worry about the near term. I just gotta
get to the next. Yeah.
And this is where we talked about earlier, like how he kind of felt like he was a David back in growing up in elementary school or whatever, but talks about embarrassing himself, having an adventure, and being a worthy endeavor, which I thought he gave probably the best speech that a rich guy could give at the end of the show.
I think I love the most about it, which I was anticipating that him and Nick would give really good stories. Just because of, their backgrounds. I mean, Mike's a writer and actor. Nick gives, summations and all type. He's in front. He's performing every day. And I was expecting to have really good closing arguments, speeches or whatever. But I really liked when Mike talked about being on Survivor at his age and how it was invigorating and how it gave him purpose. And I can honestly see how that would be an experience for someone. I kind of liken it to the time I did triathlon. It's like the most craziest thing you ever do, but then you do it and you're like, you just feel different. You're just like, man, I pushed myself to like the limit and I survived. It's an altering experience. I think I think that's where Christian was like, I'm voting for him. I think that's where people are like, you know what? He actually has been changed by this, right? So who knows?
He was he was humbled by the experience. Yeah. Which I think you have to have humility in these things. I mean, you really
humble.
do. Like,
sit down.
Sit down, Angelina. Be humble.
So we get to the votes.
Yes.
Gabby cannot even vote as she cries on the parchment. I'm like, wow, Gabby. I think Gabby became a little unhinged this season too. Like, I feel like she was like nice and quiet and meek, and then something came out of her and it just like didn't leave.
She's a little wacky.
Yeah, a little bit. Totally thought she and Christian would be on the bone train, but
yeah, you're more like hoping.
Yeah. Like, I always saw Christian's girlfriend, and good for him. That's all I'll say. A lot of them seem very torn who to vote for. We know a couple of votes though. They kind of allude to that, but we get to the final vote. And all I wanted when I was watching some Friends last night, and I was like, all I want is a shutout of Angelina, and I don't care who wins. Even if Nick doesn't win, I'll be okay with Mike as long as Angelina gets a shutout.
You know what it would kind of been the worst is a 5-5 vote that Angelina got to break the tie.
Oh, okay. I'll vote for myself. So the vote goes 7-3.
They're gonna have to make fire here, Jeff.
For the bucket of rice that I saved.
So do I get an extra vote because of the rice? So it's 7-3 in favor of Nick. Nick got Elizabeth, John, Dan, Mayor Slamtown, Dan, part of the Brochachos, Alec, Carl, Gabby, and Davey. Mike gets Christian, Allison, and Carl, which the Christian one was kind of like, really? But I think Christian was enamored by Mike's like
well, he was like, we got to hear from Christian.
Right.
He was the only one we got to hear from, really. And it was like, I admire the way you socially played this game, and I hope this changes the way. Like, I felt like Christian kind of played the same game Mike did.
Yeah.
I think that's why he admired it, because it was the same game he was.
Well, honestly, so did Kara.
Right.
I mean, they all, the people that played the same game voted like Mike.
Yep. Christian was more of a threat in that grouping, though. He actually won things, and people sided with him, and he kind of pushed some votes too. So, yeah. I think the vote was fair. Angelina didn't get any, so that's all I needed.
I kind of thought sitting there, I thought Mike was gonna win.
Like for a second, I thought it was a chance.
I don't know why I thought that.
I didn't think there was any chance that he's gonna win.
Here recently on Survivor and Big Brother,
shitty voting.
85% of the time we get it wrong
because it's a lot of
it's a lot of people
petty voting.
Yeah, it's not objective.
Bitter.
It's I'm scorned and I'm on the jury.
Yeah.
Just a couple notes from the reunion. Natalie.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Jeff, I was not portrayed correctly, even though how much you edited this. That's not who I am.
I never did any of those things.
Ever. Except that one time at Tribal when I basically called everybody out.
Yeah. You're like, except that one.
Natalie?
Jacket, Natalie, I'll trade you some rice. We're gonna be sad this show's over because we have no one to make fun of on the show.
Yeah. Davey lost 36 pounds.
That's amazing. I didn't think he was that big when he showed up.
I think he put some of it back on.
Actually, I had a joke.
He was filling out his plaid suit.
I was hoping they would say how much weight Angelina lost, but I think she's the only one that gained weight.
You guys are explaining why she's gonna be on the show again. You guys are gonna have the same conversation season 41.
Great. Beautiful.
I hope she goes home week 1.
Yeah.
She will go home week 1 because everyone
will be like, hell no.
Everyone will be like, no, I've seen you before.
No, you're gonna climb the 100-foot ladder off the show.
And if that happens, I hope she burns the rice on the way out.
Oh my god.
She's gonna climb the beanstalk.
She pees on the rice.
No, I'd still eat it. Pee sterile.
Boil it off, right?
Yeah.
So I was a big Survivor guy in the original 10 seasons. Went on hiatus for a while, been back for I don't know, a dozen or more seasons now. I had completely forgotten Big Tom in season 3 lost 80 pounds.
Insane.
That's insane.
But this goes back to you guys have both heard me talk about this.
Yeah, listeners.
Back in the day, you ate rice and whatever you killed.
No coffee.
There were no diuretics.
No red velvet cake.
No blooming onions.
You know why that is? Tom lost 80 pounds on this.
If you have 80 pounds to lose and you're still a person, you needed to lose 80 pounds.
Well, Richard Hatch, who won, he slimmed down a lot too.
They all did back in the day.
No one needs to lose 80 pounds in 39 days now. No one.
You ever step in if someone is
then you get a Subway contract.
Right. Like if someone is actually not doing well, does the medics step in and actually give them food at any point? Or if someone hasn't been able to get food or something like that, does that ever happen?
I mean, the medics will step in for, obviously injuries and stuff like that. So I haven't seen it, but I imagine if it's something like, a nutrition issue, I would imagine that they would step in if they needed to. Just because I think they're not going to let anything happen to them.
Right. I mean, now these seasons, they definitely have more options for food. Like you're saying, the first seasons were not. I mean, I remember watching the first 2, and I'm just like, I'd be dead.
I distinctly remember them roasting rats on a spit.
Yeah, they have to actually eat the animals around them,
and they ate bugs.
Yeah,
it was
the bugs was crazy.
It was really a show called Survivor.
Right.
It was more about surviving. Now it's more about
the game. Yeah, the gameplays.
My buddy was an assistant camera on one of the first. And he was like, I'm never doing this again because of all the things he saw them do and eat. And he was like, I just can't do it.
Well, in some of those seasons, there wasn't a body of water.
Yeah.
They didn't went in Africa.
In the jungle.
Where they had to build a perimeter to keep the jungle cats out.
You might die. Come in Survivor.
Yeah.
They do. I don't think this is a big deal to tell, but they have on Survivor before every season, they have the pre-production meeting, and there's a person who comes and educates you on all the critters and bugs that are out there, and this one can kill you, and this one can do this, and it's one of the first time I ever went through that was one of the most frightening things I've ever had to encounter in my life because I'm like, okay, I'm in the middle of nowhere, I'm about to be on the show that's crazy, and there's a meeting that literally all we're talking about is the things out on set where they expect you to be 14, 16 hours a day, sometimes without, you know, adequate lighting. And I'm supposed to be looking for these things.
See if you can see these with your night.
Oh,
are y'all
working?
Do you work in shifts on that show, or is it basically just there for the day?
It's you work in shifts, but for the most part, so I was a segment producer predominantly, except when I was like the Exile segment producer, which was a lot of fun because I had more leeway to kind of act like a real producer and, you know, craft stories on my own and have a camera crew or two to like do what I wanted. I was mostly doing like nighttime stuff. You know, I'd get like 3 or 4 hours of story and maybe 5 hours of story a night, and then it's like babysitting with a camera, hoping to catch something just between like the 3 hours where there's no real camera crew there. But if you're a producer on the show and you're like the day segment producer, I mean, you're up at the crack of dawn, and I mean, you're literally running for, I don't know, 18-hour days.
You're praying that they're like, let's go look for the idol in the middle of the night, or maybe you're not.
Yeah, I'm praying. I mean, I personally was, just because as a junior, as a segment producer, that's a chance for something you shoot, which is very rare to get on television, right? Which is like, I mean, there are segment producers that have had to cover something, you know, in between like crew swappage or something like that, and their footage wound up on the show. But they use a lot of that stuff on like the online stuff, behind the scenes stuff, you know, just footage. I think I even had one. I shot a scene of John Rocker in the middle of the night one time. Swatting the crap out of it. It was him and Jeremy. I had them on.
Celebrity we didn't mention.
John Rocker.
Yeah, I had them both, him and Jeremy, on Exile Island at night, and then there was just mad bugs, and I remember John Rocker yelling at me, "Come on, I know y'all got some good mosquito stuff back there. Give me the good stuff. I want something." I'm just like, and he's like whacking the crap out of himself.
Oh my
God. just whacking it's unreal, just whacking the crap out, and I'm just sitting there shooting it giddy, just like, please don't leave, but yeah, this is awesome.
Oh man,
yeah.
It's funny when you're in those positions, because I did a lot of B crew stuff in Real World where it's just me and a camera guy, and I'm running audio, and we're no producer, we're just shooting whatever, doing the scene. But if you end up in dailies, like we get dailies every couple of days, and we get a link to it, and like I would be like, oh, I made dailies, and like it was a big deal because like could make a show, or could make an after show, or could make an audio thing. But even though you're shooting the dumbest crap sometimes, but you're like, oh wait, story.
Story. I think I did.
Here.
Yeah, it's the Real World time I had something like that. I worked on that reunion in Las Vegas, and I remember being in like a small ass elevator with like Trishelle and like just like crammed in. Like the Palms has got like, they had put mirrors on all the elevators by then, so it's like we're crammed in a corner and just like shooting the stupidest stuff, and you're like, man, this shit's gonna end up on TV.
Yeah.
Like, people are gonna enjoy this.
Well, that was such a short time frame for that season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we shot that in like I had some buddies that actually dated some of the girls on there, and one was on the show, but he ended up getting cut out. Cause which one of the black chicks was like a singer, kind of, or like a yeah. So my buddy Davin was like a singer, like in Vegas at the time, and he was messing around with her, and he went to the set a couple times. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be on the show, and he got cut from it. I think he had like a little small something or other, but
he was like, that guy came on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
so let's
wrap up.
So we wrapped up.
Yeah.
I want to talk about coming next season. Right. It looks good. Season 38, The Edge of Extinction. They actually shot this back to back with the season. Actually, they shot the season we just watched and this season right after season 37.
Wow.
Or after season 36. So this one's been in the can for a while. This happens sometimes in Survivor where there's a show in the can, and maybe as we talk about it, maybe I don't know if that happened for either of your two, Kenneth. Were either of yours back to backs?
So essentially, yeah. At that point,
one wrapped, and then you started shooting the next one.
Oh no! I mean, there still goes a lot in between. So I would say, so let me see. Nicaragua, I was there for 5 or 6 weeks, however long, and then I came home, I want to say, for like a month.
Okay.
And then I came back, and then they shot it again, and they had changed all the sets, and they'd done all the swap out.
In one of the seasons you worked with Second Chance, so there had to be a live vote on the finale of the previous season to determine who the cast was.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, to say the least.
Yeah, so this new season is going to have this thing called Extinction Island, and it's going to both refer to the season's insane twist, but also a place. So every player voted out of the game will have the option of going to a place called Extinction Island, where they'll wait for 2 different chances to get back in the game. One at the merge and one at the end, which is something pretty new. I'm hoping it's at least like Final 4 and not like Final like you can grab a seat at the altar if you can. But we'll learn more about that. Don't want to go too far down that path. But we have 4 returners, and I'm excited about 2 of them, maybe 3. So the first one, and Kenneth has been around 3 of these people. So Joe Englund, he was originally on Survivor Worlds Apart. That was the blue collar, white collar, no collar season in Nicaragua, where he was the second jury member. But then he immediately came back on Survivor Cambodia Second Chance, which he was on immediately after that fan vote. He was the 6th jury member there. Joe is a fan favorite. People really liked him. Obviously, he immediately got chosen in the Second Chance. I'm excited to have him here. You're not familiar with him. Kenneth, you are. What was your experience working with Joe?
Joe there's no surprise why he's a fan favorite and why people like him. You talked about this game being a humbling experience, Will. I mean, he's what Joe is that guy. He's a fan of the game. He's been watching since he's like super, super little. To outdoors, enjoys the earth, like one of those guys that everyone likes. And then he just murders challenges. It's like he is just a challenge god. He was that one time he ripped off like. Yeah, he can, bud. I have no idea why he's still up there. That you can, go potty. Sorry guys. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
You kind of wrapped up Joe, so we'll pause for a second, and then we'll go to the next one. Another person that you worked with was Aubrey. Aubrey was on Survivor Cal Wrong. She was the runner-up there, and then she was on Game Changers and finished 5th overall there. 2 pretty good finishes, but not somebody that people really like as a viewer. You were with her in Cal Wrong. What was Aubrey like as a
I mean, she was cool. I mean, again, I
think that speaks volumes, Ken.
Yeah, I was to be too quite honest, I was surprised she made it as far as she did. But not, I mean, I guess at some point you go.
I should have won.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah.
I don't mind her, but like she.
I don't mind her.
But like, she's kind of like floated around for a while, made other stuff behind the scenes. But
Kelly Wentworth is back for her 3rd season, and she's one I really like. She's on both Survivor San Juan del Sur, that was Blood versus Water, with her dad. She was the 5th person voted out, didn't do very well. And then in Second Chance, she was the 10th and final juror, not an enviable place, but a nice run in the show. Any feedback background with Kelly as you worked with her as a cast member?
One, she's hot. She's fun to look at. No, but I think that I like her as a player in terms of, I don't think she did too hot in the first one. I really felt that Blood versus Water. I think the dynamic with her and her dad really kind of affected her play.
They kind of a great relationship, did they?
Yeah, they were kind of out there. It almost felt like this was their chance to kind of like repair. This was like a salvo to kind of repair some harm trauma they experienced together, or something that they were going through. And I think that she was very much daddy's little girl, kind of didn't really Survivor causes you to like lie, cheat, deceit, all these things that I think is really hard when she's trying to craft an image in her dad's, like the way her dad looks at her. So I think that affected her gameplay the first time around. She was awesome the second time around. I think that she was unshackled by her father being gone, and she played a really good game, getting all the way down to maybe being like I think she was first, like maybe the 9th person, or she was close in terms of getting voted out towards the end. And she played a really game. She was part of a lot of things. So I like her addition. I think she'll be good the third time around. I think she is.
You did both of her seasons.
I think she'll improve. I think she's shown that she improves, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if she improves again.
That's right, though. You did both of her seasons.
Yeah.
Okay. So she was 2 within the 4-year span, and then the last one is David Wright, not the former Met third baseman.
Yeah.
Instead, the kind of eccentric, paranoid guy, found a lot of idols, made a lot of moves, and
I just looked him up to remember who he was, and I'm like, oh yeah,
that guy.
He was super annoying at first, but then he was like kind of redeemable qualities about him as the season went on.
So another guy that was 10th and final juror, he's only been on one season. That was Millennials versus Gen X, which was just a few seasons ago.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like how somebody like that was very memorable on the show just completely dissipated from your mind.
Yeah.
And
there's so many people.
Oh, okay.
There's so many people since then, and honestly, there's been so many good characters replace the ones that were, they're really the casting department is doing a great job on Survivor, because they're just, they're hitting the nail on the head so many times that it's like, oh man, and we got all these distractions on our phones and recency bias at play, so it's like it's easy to forget, someone that was held your attention for 12, 13 weeks, less than a year ago, 2 years ago.
Kenny, well, I have to ask you this because I'm sort of new back on the Survivor train. I watched the first couple seasons and I've seen the last 5 or 6. Why have the last 5 or 6 been better, I guess, than the ones prior to this one? Because Spencer would even admit to that like these last few seasons have been really good compared to kind of where it came from like 6 or 7 seasons ago. Like, what do you think?
I think a lot of it has to do with production scheduling, right? So the whole idea of doing multiple seasons kind of back to back in like locations, I think that's more recent thing, like the last 10 seasons or something, where they're kind of capitalizing on like the whole idea of them being in Fiji consistently. I think that opens up, now we have one less thing to really worry about, and that's a huge production, right? Finding a location. And I remember the guy that was doing it when we were in Nicaragua, he was scouting Cambodia at the time, right? And it's just like all the things he's talking about and who he's meeting with, like consulates and like huge important people in all these different countries. So it's a lot of work to find these locations. So I think securing them frees up, creative space, if you will, to, kind of like tinker with the game, because it's like, well, we already kind of have the location decided. They have an amazing art department where, the art department is they're able to switch up things and have new fresh ideas and change things to make it look amazing every time. And then, the producers are finding their grooves. The show is, it's everyone's getting better. We're better viewers watching it. We understand what we're looking for, what works well, what doesn't work well. We see all these things beforehand. We've watched it so many times, and the producers on that show are like the biggest fans. The people that work on that show are like the biggest fans. They're trying to entertain each other, to be quite honest with you. They love the fans of the show, but they're trying to do better because they love watching the game and watching it evolve. So I think that's played a lot into it. It's just a perfect storm. They got a great group of people working on it. And I could say that biased because I know some of them and some of them really well. And, but I would say that probably if I didn't know, I mean, they just kind of, they love Survivor. Like I told Spencer on one of the pods, Jeff's like the biggest Survivor fan on the planet. That's why the show's so good.
I think the cast has a lot to do with it too. Cause it's connected. Yeah, I think Real World kind of lost that. That's why Real World kind of fell off, is that the cast wasn't as good anymore because they were too self-aware when they got on the show. But you're right about finding the space. Real World was always delayed by finding a place to shoot because every city was like, well, I don't want this in here. And it really bogs everything down if you can't find a good place to do your stuff. So that's awesome insight.
Survivor's had a really good cast the last few seasons. And I think it's become more interesting because they're playing in a different way.
Yeah.
This whole voting blocks mentality. I don't know. I'm kind of more old school. I like the alliances, but this voting block thing makes for better TV because like you have something happen every time. It set us up for a great season this season, and it's come time for us to wrap it all up. Any parting thoughts from either of you guys to wrap up?
Can you go first?
37 was a great season. I just, Davey's my favorite. I wish he would have won. I get that he didn't, but as a black man, I'm proud of his game as a black man on Survivor. I think that he hit the nail on the head saying that, I would love to see more people of color participate in Survivor. I think it's a great game. I think that it's a lot of fun. But I'm just incredible television. It was a lot of fun watching this season. Looking forward to how they're going to switch it up and what they got, in store for us next. But man, the 37 seasons strong, and they can still keep our attention like this. I think it says a lot about how great this show really is and the concept.
I would also say I love Davey. I was pulling for Christian and Davey for a while, which they would have gotten in the finals. But I just think this season was the best season I've ever seen. Just like gameplay, voting structure, people changing sides, the way the challenges kind of went down. I think it was the most evenly played game where it wasn't one side or the other. There was always a chance for someone else to take over, and it did. And I thought it was I thought it was awesome. Even just for a challenge show, this was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely a great season. We'll be back in February talking Survivor. We're not going anywhere in between now and then.
Febtober.
Yeah, yeah. So stick around. We'll be talking some Bravo shows here in just a moment. But for the time being, Survivor, Tribe has spoken.
There's no need to vote.
We're not voting. It's not happening.
Oh, man. We'll let you go. We're gonna soldier on a couple other shows. But
have fun talking about Floribama and there's so many reality shows. I mean, you guys would probably have a 10-hour podcast if you wanted to. All right, man.
We got a little viral heat this week, so things are on the upswing.
Thanks for riding that wave with us.
There you go. No problem, man. It's a lot of fun. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, later.
Go, man.
Bye.
I'm gonna stop this and switch over to the other just because I don't want to have a massive